Hey everyone, welcome back to another segment of The MCR. Mac and me. My name's TJ, and I realized in the last segment we did a couple weeks ago, I failed to identify myself. So, my name's TJ, and just two elderly gentlemen in the southeastern portion of Michigan. One,
Well,
one,
one arguably more elderly than the other.
oh, by at least 3 weeks.
Yes.
Uh, one trying to stay alive in Detroit or on the outskirts of Detroit, and the other one living the high life out in the sticks, you know?
Yes.
But, anyways, as I digress, onto the topic. Uh, Mac and I will talk throughout the week, and during the course of our conversation, uh, it gets the topic of how violent the left is, and they do it in areas where they don't seem to think they'll suffer any consequences, and very quickly, I'd just like to. There's as Mac and I were talking, three things came to my mind immediately, and this is just a walk down memory lane. Crowder, Crowder used to do that. I changed my mind, and I think in 2021 or 2022, that time frame, he had to stop it because the violence was becoming dangerous to the point where I think his security guys were telling him, "We don't know if we can keep you alive." You know, uh, he has since resumed, and he's paying out the wazoo for security. Uh, and I think I'm not 100% certain of this, but in one clip I saw of him resuming his change my mind. If they had a particular building of concern, it looked like they were setting up some kind of obstacle, like like a glass, a bulletproof glass or something. It looked like they were positioning something between him and the angle of the building that they would have a concern about. It was real
Well,
quick.
they ought to have that bulletproof glass up just to protect
Yeah.
everyone from COVID.
Well, and that was one of the complaints about the attempted assassination of Trump is how they left all these rooftops in clear view of the podium. And like I said, it was very quick. So I think that's what I saw. If someone were to say you're seeing things, okay, fine. But anyways, Crowder has resumed his change my mind. Then a few years ago, you had Riley Gaines having to seek refuge in a conference room because protesters in the hallway were becoming so violent, and she was stuck in
Well,
this.
yeah. Let's be clear about something. They're beyond protesters. They're thugs.
Yeah. I remember seeing a video of Ben Shapiro. He had authorization to be at a college, and the campus police said, "Hey, man, you got to leave," you know. And Ben Shapiro said, "Hey, but I got permission." I said, "No, you got to leave." And the common denominator here was the left's violence and law enforcement's inability. I don't know if they were ill-equipped or unprepared or what, but in all these situations, there was like next to no support from law enforcement. It in any kind of effort to keep order. And like I said, as Mac and I were talking about this topic, those three things just came to my mind right off the top of my head. Mac, your thoughts?
Well, I think that the media is trying to gaslight us. I'll give you a couple of instances. Don Lemon would have you believe that all of the violence is coming from the right, which is just a blatant lie. I don't know if he's a liar or he's delusional or he's mentally ill or whatever his problem is. I don't know. And Bill Maher is another one. Come on, everybody. It's both sides, he says. It isn't both sides. That's bullshit. And I think he and Ben Shapiro got in a heated discussion because Shapiro basically said it's not both sides, Bill. And these groups such as Antifa and others, they're the brown shirts for the Democratic Party. They're paid for thugs that are going to go out and shut people up. Anybody with a dissenting opinion from the Marxist fascist Democratic Party.
Well, uh, I not I don't have a Fox News subscription, but I do occasionally watch their clips on YouTube, and it was refreshing to see Greg Gutfeld explode on Jessica Tarloff when she basically said, "Hey, uh, the right deserves 50% of this uh, blame," and Greg Gutfeld basically exploded on her.
Well,
Uh,
you know what? If you want to use that argument, let's talk about the rapes of women. Well, women are at least, if they weren't women, they wouldn't be getting raped. So they're at least 50% responsible for the rape. Who could say that and not be what would happen to you? I mean, it would be the most idiotic thing you could come out of your mouth. Well, if she hadn't been looking too sexy, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, it's blame the victims. That's where, you know, I have to take issue with her because I don't think she's an idiot like a lot of these people are. I think she's just wholly dishonest and a propagandist for the left.
oh, well, for sure. I mean, you know what? Almost word for word, she parrots their talking points. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, when you hear MSNBC or MS Now or whatever they call themselves, and CNN, and you hear their talking points, and then you hear Jessica Tarloff on the five almost saying word for word the same thing, and I'm like, I guess the memo just gets around.
Yeah, we've all seen the video where they pop up one person saying something and the next person saying exactly the same thing verbatim. And then they screen after screen after screen after screen. They're all saying exactly the same thing. Now, that's not a coincidence.
Well,
It's orchestrated.
as I was taking a walk down memory lane, I'd like to once again go down memory lane here. Back a couple weeks, just a couple days before the assassination of Charlie Kirk, was when news was released about that unfortunate, horrendous incident down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and and I was kind of fired up about that. I'm talking to a friend, and I said, they're systematically killing us. And
Yes.
then the next day, Charlie Kirk. And I said to my guy, I said, what did I just say yesterday? You know? And
Well, not only do they want to kill us, they want to kill us as an example for the rest of us. For instance, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've read that CNN didn't cover any Trump rallies until Butler. So
that's entirely possible.
they wanted us to see it, in other words. They
Uh-huh.
wanted us to see Trump get his head blown off.
Well, I like to listen to Chris Stegall in the mornings. He's my new favorite morning Salem host, Charles, Chris Stegall. Okay,
Did he replace Hugh? I want to be a leftist Hewitt.
yeah, the DC Bubbles apologist. Yeah, Hugh Hewitt moved to the afternoon because Dr. G. Sebastian Gorka was hired into the Trump administration, opening a spot in the afternoon. Hugh Hewitt wanted to go to the afternoon, thus thus the up. I'm going to say thus the upgrade to Chris Stegall. you know,
Yeah.
but Chris Stegall at every opportunity beats the drum, and I don't know. I 100% agree with this statement that he has said repeatedly. They allowed the assassination attempt to happen, and he goes
Oh, I
he
believe
goes
that too.
he goes until someone shows me concrete evidence. He goes, I will always believe in my heart that the FBI and Secret Service let that attempt happen. In other words,
Well, I can tell you this. I don't know how many. We both worked in security for many years, and neither of us would, or and especially together, would never have let that happen.
I would have said, "Hey, you got a rooftop here." I
Yeah,
mean, that's
it's a
security
no-brainer.
101. you
No,
know?
no drones. I mean, it was let to have happen. I think the Biden administration wanted to let Donald Trump get killed.
Yeah. Uh,
Not necessarily planned it or made it happen, but you know what? Hey, Olay, well, you're not going to stand in the way of the bull as he runs by.
well, in reference to Jessica Tarlov and the likes of her on the left and their accusation of how we on the right deserve 50% of the criticism. You know what their examples were? I don't know if you heard this, Mac. Their examples.
Yeah,
Get a load of this. That Melissa Hortman from Minnesota, and if you recall, and she was the Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. So yes, she was a politician, but kind of a low-level politician where no one really knew who she
yeah.
was.
I
Plus,
didn't know her.
plus the perpetrator, uh, because they were saying they so badly wanted to say it was someone on the right who murdered her. Okay, because she was murdered.
They
Her and her
always do.
husband were murdered. Uh, but then it became known that this guy had more connections to the Democrats than he did the Republicans, and it was like, well, they're still going to use her as an example. Then the other example, get a load of this, and I'm sure you might have heard about this. Well, what about the mosque attack in Christchurch, New Zealand? And I'm like, what? You got to go to the other side of the planet to find yourself an
That's,
example?
it's
You
got
know?
nothing to do with us.
Well,
Nothing to do with.
but they so badly want to make their case about how that's what and my point being that is how badly they want to make the case of how we deserve 50% of the criticism, you know.
It's why they can't talk. Why they can't stop talking about slavery because they don't have anything fresh. This is why I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a race guy, not me. Was it Rusty Wallace who had uh, the noose on the door handle?
The last name is right, but it was I want to say it was Bubba Wallace. No
Yeah.
relation to Rusty. No relation to
Okay.
Rusty.
My apologies, Rusty.
The last name was coincidental, and the whole thing about the noose hanging from the garage door, and what basically, I guess quite a few of them have that because it makes for a very convenient loop to grab onto in your haste to shut the blessed door. Okay?
Well, my point there being that there's so little of what they claim that they have to manufacture it.
Yeah.
Jesse Smollett, another one.
I and you know I think they were just dying to make a connection. As you know, a week ago we had that horrible shooting here in Michigan. Uh, that guy shot up that Mormon church, and I think they call it a temple or something. They have
Yeah, LDS.
so. Uh, but as details come out about the guy, ex-marine, and it sounds like he had some kind of a romantic interest in a woman attending a Mormon church in Utah, and therein lies his connection to that theology, we'll say. So that
So if I can't get the right Mormon, I'll get any Mormon.
I
Is that
I
was that what the guy said?
well I don't I the details were vague, and I'll confess that much. Other than it was an interest which did not pan out for the guy, we'll say, and
Okay.
he lands here in Michigan, and he's still holding a grudge against the church for sure. Well, thus this Mormon church in close proximity to him, and it's they said he was suffering from PTSD because I think he served in Iraq or something. Uh, Possible, any what anything's
Sure.
possible, I
Absolutely.
guess, but 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 I'll tell you what was for certain was his romantic interest of a Mormon woman in Utah. That makes for interesting. Uh, that's just an interesting detail to this unfortunate incident, I would say. You know.
And I suppose because he was a Marine, that makes him right wing.
Oh yeah, yeah, big time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you
Even like
know,
Lee Harvey Oswald was right wing.
you know,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and like you were saying, we got Portland, we got Chicago. They were using cars to physically box in the ICE agents in Chicago. Just yesterday, I want to say,
Yeah.
uh, and Portland. Oh, and I heard one commentator say it's only one block in the city of Portland because you know what? It was Scott Jennings saying how Portland was out of control, and Abby Phillips was saying, Scott, it's just one block. It's just one block. you know.
Yeah.
So you're,
It's only hostage.
a block can be a quarter of a mile depending on the type of block it is, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, it that's how desperate they are to somehow excuse this this behavior, this out of
Well, you see,
control
if it's
behavior.
50-50, then they're not guilty. Is how they
Exactly.
this how they're trying to project themselves as not guilty for when they are exactly guilty.
So, as we kind of wrap up this, I guess, I gosh, I hate saying it this way, but this you got people out there who are of the prepper mindset, and this violent environment only fuels the prepper's mindset. You know?
I think the prepper is, per the name, to be prepared, or as they say in the Coast Guard, semper paratus, always prepared.
Yeah.
Uh, and you have to be prepared as much mentally as you are physically. And I hate to put it this way, and we certainly do not condone any violence on anyone. However, I think you have to give as good as you get.
Yeah. Uh, had a couple commentators basically say that as long as they think they can do what they do without any repercussion, uh, they will continue. For instance, there's a video of a guy, and it was in Portland. One was anti-ice, the other was pro-ice. Okay, and they were mano a mano, and they started exchanging fists, and well, the pro-ice guy flattened out the anti-ice guy. Needless to say, both were arrested. And therein lies the problem with the local police right now is since they're employed by the city, run by the mayor and the chief of police who are in cahoots with Antifa, you know, thus
They're
thus
told to stand down.
they it allows the Antifa people to get away with murder, literally. you
Yeah.
know.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems to me I remember the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, trying to raise money to get these people out of jail.
Oh yeah, yep. Sure
Failed.
enough, was sure enough was. So you know, I guess we come full circle back to the you might as well prepare because either that don't go to those areas like don't go to the
Yeah,
one block in Portland for sure. I guess
that, that's
you know.
that's part of the preparation. Situational awareness. Don't go to where they are and where they get a free reign. But if they come to you, be prepared. Semper paratus. I'll say again, and hey, give as good as you get.
I have been genuinely and pleasantly surprised that hardly any of that nonsense has played out in the Detroit metropolitan area. I mean, I'm sure you got your groups here or there, whoever, but Detroit, for all its notoriety and you know past crime statistics and whatnot, I've been surprised for quite some time now that a lot of that nonsense hasn't played out here. And I live in a suburb of Detroit, so the suburbs, for sure, especially we'll say Macomb County, okay, the suburbs for sure aren't going to put up with the city's nonsense. So
And even more so where I live in the woods, people out here they'll delete you
yeah,
for that. You'll get deleted.
so anyways, that's all I got. Any final thoughts? Wraps up there, Mac?
No, but as we always say, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on us. That's been our slogan for the last 7 years, and I think it really applies here.
Oh yeah, especially watch your six, which is a
Yeah,
military term for your back. Okay, But anyways, I guess that's it. We've vented long enough because I think that's what we were doing here is venting
yeah.
frustration and everything, all of the above. So Thanks everyone for your support. Not sure when we'll do another one, but you know, keep us in mind and look for us down the road. We'll see y'all later. Thanks a lot. As always, be safe. Watch your six and don't tread on me.